What's going on, guys? This is Bradley alongside Zach, and you are listening to the Charm City Sideline podcast. We are live tonight, Friday night, recapping day 2 of the NFL draft, rounds 2 and 3. The Ravens had 2 picks tonight after selecting Malachi Starks at 27 overall last night. I guess we'll get right into the first pick. What's up, Zay? Appreciate you for being here. Okay, so at 59, the Ravens select Mike Green, edge out of Marshall. So there's obviously some things that are going on with Mike Green because on the field, he's a top 20 prospect in this class. So just to sort of go over everything I have learned, came into Virginia, UVA, with a no-nonsense policy after being accused of sexual assault by someone that occurred when he was in high school. And then another situation popped up when he was at UVA. So basically, he kind of got kicked out and transferred without any sort of process. Neither situation resulted in a charge. Mike Green is open about the situations. He's denied any wrongdoing, and nothing else has come out since he transferred to Marshall in 2023. But it's definitely telling that a player of that caliber still fell to 59. So I'd say a lot of NFL teams probably didn't feel great about the situation. Ravens take the flyer on him at 59, and we'll see how it all turns out, Zach.
Yeah, that was the most – it's probably the most excited I've been in a pick so far. I'll tell you a funny story. I was not really looking at the notifications, but I got a text, so I checked my notifications really quick and saw, I think it was maybe Schefter or Rappaport tweeting about Jack Beck going to the Raiders right before us, I think. And I was like, no way did we just draft their wide receiver. I fully thought we got a wide receiver before I actually watched it. And then seeing Mike Green was such a pumped up feeling. I was pretty juiced about that. A guy that we fully thought would probably go day one. I mean, he's that level of talented. It's just, so many teams, apparently, according to Rappaport, didn't have him even on their board because of this personal issue stuff. So, I mean, it's concerning in that regard, but I mean, it seems like it's been pretty well under the rug right now. So maybe it's fully past them. Hopefully it is. And we get, as Eric DeCosta just mentioned in his press conference, who they think is one of the premier pass rushers in all of the draft, falling all the way to 59.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting situation and something that Ravens fans obviously are not used to. And now sort of multiple of these situations now that we've sort of been dealing with past couple months. So as a player, Mike Green, we'll get into that now. 6'3", 251, 32-inch arms. We've obviously mentioned was a blue chip prospect in this class. He was my number 6 edge prospect in terms of, on the field. I had him behind guys like Ezeraku and Jalen Walker and Michael Williams, but I had him above James Pierce and Nick Scorton. 17 sacks his senior year at Marshall. Pretty insane production.
Yeah.
Super high energy, extremely explosive, great burst, great bend. I think maybe the most explosive, bendiest rusher in this class besides Abdul Carter. Obviously, the Senior Bowl rep against Josh Connerly, who went last night, tackled to the Commanders in the first round, where he completely bull rushed him. Awesome rep there. He was good at the Senior Bowl. Good instincts against the run. I think maybe lacks a bit of length. Can be a bit reckless and miss some tackles. Obviously, not a massive guy, which is interesting because the Ravens do like sort of bigger edges, and they go with a bit of a smaller guy in Mike Green for a Ravens outside linebacker. Can get knocked off course sometimes against bigger tackles. A quote from Lance Zierlein, NFL scout, said, "Plays so hard that he occasionally runs out of gas." So that's kind of a positive and a negative there all in one. But overall could make some improvements against the run, but it's definitely viable there. What else do you have, Zach, in terms of his on the field play?
I wanted to just talk about some stuff that's happening now too with the press conference.
Mm-hmm.
Mike did tweet 25 minutes ago, "Watch what I do for y'all." # Ravens flock. That's a pretty sweet tweet.
Yeah.
But DaCosta even talking about allegations, saying we take them serious, have to do a lot of homework. DaCosta said that they spent a full day with Mike Green in Baltimore. So probably learning as much as anyone about Mike Green as a prospect. I assume he could have been in a short list, maybe a longer list, I guess, for 27, if a Starks, if a Pierce, if a Zraku, and et cetera, are all not there. But it seemed like this was kind of the best case scenario, as in a falling guy. Besides, Shador right now, Green was probably the biggest slipping, falling name of the first round. And I think that only kind of adds to, the Ravens kind of look the last few years. I feel like a lot of fans, I watched one guy watching, I think, the NFL Nation mock draft from ESPN, and he's like, "Oh, the Ravens always do this. They always get some guy there that's not supposed to be there, and he turns out to be a star." Like, it's that type of thing. I feel that way with Starks, and I feel that way with Mike Green. Green as a player, though, I mean, explosiveness, like you said, there's a violence almost to him. Like, he is a killer of a pass rusher. And I love that note of almost doing so much that he gets out of gas.
Yeah.
Like, you want that. Why would you not want that as a pass rusher? I think we have a deep group right now. Owe, Kyle Van Noy, Green now. You can go Adisa Isaac, maybe another guy they add, tomorrow. But
8 picks.
Yeah, 8 picks. You probably would add some guy that can possibly play there. But I think that this was all around probably my favorite pick of the draft so far, because of how much I've wanted an edge. You heard me talk about it and mocks and everything, trying to call my shot, thinking that we were getting an edge. Starks being there is just too enticing. But I'm very happy, as in we are beginning to build the trenches, at least through the edge. I mean, talk about a concern as in a fandom. Everyone has been asking for an edge, and you get a guy at 59 who is projected as high as 15 the day before day one. Like, obviously the media, and compared to, the real NFL front offices, got the allegation big board kind of stuff wrong with Mike Green, but it ends up being to the Ravens' benefit.
Yeah. Trevor Sikkema, a guy from PFF who has a podcast that I like a lot, said on his big board, he said Malachi Starks was his number 8 player on his big board, and Mike Green was his number 10 player on his big board. And the Ravens got them at 27 and 59. I have friends texting me last night and tonight. I have a few friends that are Bills fans, a few friends that are Steelers fans. Not too happy about the Ravens' first 2 draft picks. The EDC, like you said, talking about it right now. From Jeff Zrebeck, DaCosta said allegations are severe. We take them seriously. We do as much homework as we can. We did a good job talking to as many people as possible. But yeah, overall, complete steal in terms of the player. Ravens have been looking for an edge rusher similar to, we talked about the Starks yesterday. Ravens been looking for a guy who can play over the top for so long. And they've been looking for an elite pass rusher for so long. They're not bad enough to get a blue chip pass rusher in the draft year after year. They tried it. They tried to sort of get around it with Ojabo a few years ago. That was because of an injury. This is because of an off the field issue. And that's sort of the way that they have to try to find their elite pass rushers. Obviously, it hasn't worked with Ojabo. We'll see if it works out with Mike Green for a different reason. got to get pressure in the playoffs, like
Mhm.
someone needs to make a play, strip sacks. Like
Yeah.
we're talking about, with Lamar, the defense has forced what, 1 or 2 turnovers in Lamar's whole entire career in playoff games. You add a Starks who mosses receivers 30 yards down the field, and you add a Mike Green who can maybe get some sacks, force some strips of quarterbacks. Man, Zach Orr's got to be pumped.
Pretty pumped, right? Yeah. Talk about some perfect filling in of, you don't even need to say needs. It's mostly the rich get richer kind of thing.
Mhm.
I can't wait to see the 8 other picks, whether it's kind of a little more offensive or not. But
Yeah.
I mean, you'd assume it's defense. I'm just so happy with the Green pick. Everything about it screamed Ravens at the time. I know Brad, just you for instance, talking during our day one stuff, like Ravens would not go Mike Green.
Yeah.
It's not happening. And I think you would definitely agree with me when you say 59 is a different story. I mean, whenever it's 27, you're like, you can't take the chance on with a first round pick on a
Mhm.
guy that has off field issues, and you definitely could take the chance with a top 20 caliber prospect
Yeah.
at 59, basically talking about the same player. So, I mean, as much as people have also said, the edges in this draft weren't as, I gotta think of the word, maybe as valuable as people thought maybe going into it. Obviously, Green lands to the Ravens that late.
Mhm.
Ezraku, Scorton, a bunch of those guys that we had even talked about as a Ravens first round pick go second round, day 3. I mean, like
Yeah.
it's so much. There was so much clarity, I guess, with the edges in total. And I think that DaCosta coming out and saying that he was one of the premier guys available in the draft, in their opinion, makes me only that much more confident, seeing that what we saw from Green is a stud of a, like Zay says, maybe a 10+ sack player every year. And I think that the Ravens are also in a situation where, not to be, saying some ill will or anything, but in a situation where taking a chance on a guy with off-field issues is a little weird given a Justin Tucker situation. So it all has a weird kind of a full circle effect to it. But on the other hand, we've got in the first 2 picks, 2 of maybe the most talented guys in the draft at exceptional, incredible value at where we
Yeah.
got them. How can you not be absolutely pumped up by those 2 picks? It feels like
Yeah.
those 2 are just guys that are going to go in and immediately be a part of impacting winning with the Ravens.
Yeah, like I said, Trevor Sikkema, Ravens got 2 of the top 10 players on his big board. I'd say for me, probably 2 of my top 20 players on my big board. Yeah, pretty crazy.
Mhm.
I think that's you have anything else to add on Mike Green?
Um, maybe later. I can't think of anything right now, but we could definitely get into our 3rd round selection.
Yeah, so then Ravens stick and pick again at 91, and they go with Emery Jones, tackle out of LSU. 6'5", 315, 34 and a quarter inch arms. Consensus boards around 94, so right around where the Ravens ended up taking him.
Mm-hmm.
3-year starting at right tackle at LSU, 36 starts in the SEC. Obviously, a lot of experience against good competition. I would say a typical tackle in college that, in my opinion, doesn't have the athleticism to play outside in the NFL. Where you look at a Bo, who is a tackle in college and maybe doesn't have the size to play on the outside in the NFL. So
Yeah.
sort of different reasons for maybe moving into guard. Second team All ACC in 2023. I mean SEC in 2023 and 2024. I think it's pretty good hand usage. Feels pretty strong to me. It's really just like the athleticism is not there in my opinion. and the footwork is not there.
Mm.
I think he lacks a bit of control in the run game. No injury history. He's played 12 plus games every single year. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to disagree with you with the footwork part. I think that what was most impressive, I like to call it positioning more than footwork. I think knowing where to be in pass rush situations, especially as a tackle, is awesome. I think whenever you are in the SEC playing such high level talent, that kind of, not necessarily awareness, but IQ almost as a football player, it was impressive to me. And we can be a little more hesitant on Jones here. I think a few of you in the comments were saying some good stuff about him, but I think that to honestly combat it, there was a bunch of guys that just us two had higher rated as a more comfortable pick.
Yeah.
But Jones gives you a guy that can be both tackle if need be, and hopefully a competing with Voorhees and Fale level guard. And PFF is one to note that they were really strong about him being best utilized in the NFL as a guard. I think he's just the ideal area, especially with 91. You get a guy that plays both tackle and guard to technically replace a McCary. So
yeah,
I can't say I don't dislike the pick. I don't say I love the pick though. So I'm honestly on a my green high, maybe.
I definitely don't love it. Like, yes, so to go through my initial reactions was Malachi Starks was like, let's go. That's what I was expecting. That's what I also would have done. Mike Green was like, what the hell? I wasn't expecting that at all. And then this was like, Emery Jones was like, like it was like, that's not what I would have done.
Both. Yeah, both.
But
yeah.
I mean, you and me, we both loved Marcus Bowe out of Purdue.
Yeah.
And definitely some size concerns. But remember, when I looked it up, same exact size as Marshall Yanda. So it's like, it's not like he can't, it's not like he's too small to play guard. And I thought that would have been my pick there, or even a Joshua Farmer interior D lineman at Florida State probably would have been my pick at 91. Harbaugh said that the Ravens see Emery Jones, as this is from Jeff Zrebeck, as possibly a swing tackle right away, but they'll get him some reps at guard too. Not ruling out ultimately transitioning him to guard. I think he's like a guard. Like, I don't even think.
For sure.
I think there's like emergency tackle capabilities. I don't even know if I'd call it like swing tackle. I think he's definitely a guard in the NFL. And I think probably competing at right guard. I mean, he played right tackle in college, so you'd probably feel more comfortable on the right side. So maybe a competition with Falele over there. We'll see, and we are talking about like Emery Jones is not as athletic as some other guys, but you put him next to a Linderbaum and a Rosengarten, who are a lot more finesse, athletic type offensive linemen. You sandwich him between them, it could be a nice sort of different archetypes there on the offensive line. Yeah, I like you looking at the like. Who would you have taken at 91, Zach?
Oh, I don't have the board in front of me, but
you had Bo there.
I definitely I texted you like early on in the third. I'm like, if it's an option to trade up for Bo, I think we could do it.
Yeah, and he was there.
And you have too many picks, So I was like, let's go ahead and do it. 8 picks tomorrow. Like, yeah, give up 2 of them, maybe 1 next year that are super late. A team might do it. And he becomes available at 91 just for us not to get him. That was pretty heartbreaking for me. I thought that was kind of a match made in heaven. But I love Zay's comment talking about doubling down at guard. I mean, I love the idea of that, but also don't forget, Jones is a bona fide tackle. Like, he played 36 games as a right tackle. So technically we would be going a legitimate like full guard, I guess, in day 3. You can
Yeah.
consider Jones either way, even though he's most likely going to be competing at the guard spot. But I like to think of there's a few guys. I think I'm looking here, seeing who would be available whenever we pick too.
You liked Miles Frazier a lot too, right?
I sure did. I think that's more of a. I thought that was 4th round, but looks like he'll be a little early too. But that's okay. I think that would have been a good spot for him. But
Really,
either way,
the only offensive lineman left that I felt like was sort of a day 2 guy was Bo. Like including Jones, I felt like everyone else is sort of a day 3 pick. Which is why if it wasn't Bo, I probably would have gone somewhere else. Like I would have been fine with doubling down to edge. Braden Swinson was a guy I probably would have been fine with at 59 at LSU, another LSU guy. I think not too many corners I would have liked there. But yeah, it's that like you Zach, you were talking before we came on, like you trust the Ravens with this, and I'm not like, oh, that's a terrible pick. Like we knew who he was. We had done some work on him. I just felt like maybe more of a, I don't know, maybe more of a 4th round pick on Emery Jones, in my opinion. I was a bit surprised when I heard the name, but
no, it was definitely a surprise. Just looking at the group right now, I think we were high on Ty Robinson out of Nebraska.
Yeah, I talked about him.
Marcus Bowe, obviously. Miles Frazier, we just mentioned. You mentioned Josh Farmer. I mean, there was guys there that I think, us too, if we were Eric DeCosta, would have picked. But
yeah,
I think they have to have high hopes for Mr. Jones. I love this comment from Zay. Wasn't high on Rosengarten, but I'm okay with Jones if he proves me wrong and be happy with it. Yeah, for sure, man. Like hopefully that's what he turns out to be, as in size, perfect guard. I mean, I think that would be A+. It's just about, when you talk about athleticism and you were bashing him a little bit as in an athlete, and that's okay. I think that what the Ravens needed was more of an athlete at guard. And whether that means awareness and quick movement and twitchiness as in a Bowe or as in a Frazier, that's where we're talking about. That's where we were leaning. And Jones does meet the criteria as in what I like to call positioning, maybe as in a footwork term towards a different person. But I think that as in a position and IQ wise, he seems like a really good fit. So overall, can't be that mad at it. Yeah. I just think that I am personally just on such a high from Mike Green that they couldn't have really done anything to really make me upset unless it was like just a stupid position of need.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think something to note that was just asked at the press conference, Eric DeCosta saying, I would expect Mark Andrews to be on the team.
Yeah.
Non-committal before today. Third round's over, and he's like, you know what? I expect him to be on the team. So what do you think, dude?
Yeah, this was sort of the day we were going to find out because Ravens aren't going to trade him for a day 3 pick. And I think there was definitely some inklings maybe from the Chargers or the Commanders. I think Ravens probably wanted a 3rd round pick for Andrews, and obviously he did not get it. So yeah, he'll probably be on the team next year. So that's interesting. I guess no more Andrews rumors, but he only has 1 year left on his contract. So yeah, this could be the final year for him in a Ravens uniform.
That's true. It probably is.
Yeah, because they likely he's a free agent next year. If he has a big year, they're going to be paying likely and not Andrews, you would assume. Shedeur Sanders has not been drafted.
Yeah.
I was remember when we were live last night, we were like, Steelers were picking. I turned my camera off so you guys wouldn't get the pick spoiled, thinking it might be Shedeur.
Thinking it was going to be Shedeur, yeah.
The Steelers last night. Steelers have picked what, 3 more times? No, I think just 1 more time since then. Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa. Browns have picked like 27 times since then. They obviously don't want him. The Raiders have picked like 15 times since then. They obviously don't want him. The Rams have picked. Seahawks took Milroe, which I think is a good fit there. So I was thinking about Milroe. I'm like, if I'm taking Milroe, no matter what, like you're not playing your first year. I don't care if like 3 of our quarterbacks go down. Like you are learning your first year. You're pulling. This is an Alex Smith Mahomes situation for Milroe. Next offseason, maybe we start amping you up. I think that could happen with the Seahawks. Mike McDonald obviously was around for the Lamar Jackson situation in 2018. So he knows what sort of went into that. We have some comments here from Deshaun. Ravens get A+ so far.
Dude, we should grade it. What do you grade the total draft right now?
Let's go pick by pick.
Well, I was hoping for a collective. I was hoping for a total. I mean,
we'll do a collective after.
Okay.
Okay, so I give Starks an A-. What about you?
I was willing to give it an A.
Yeah. I just think A would be like a bit more of a steal. I think A would be like if Mikael Williams fell to 27 or something, or like Derek Harmon falls to 27. I would give that an A.
Okay.
But I'd say A-. Like we all liked Starks. We wanted him. Mike Green, I mean, I don't think you can give it an A+ because of the situation and the allegations. I would give it that's really, I don't know how to grade that pick.
Green.
B?
I was going to go pretty hot, but I mean,
I give it a B. If we're talking about what happens on the grass in between the white rectangle, you would say A+.
That's why I was like, I think the only thing that could leave a bad taste in my mouth is the off-field stuff. I mean, that's the only word. Yeah. Besides that, I think it's an A- pretty easily. Like you can't give it. You want to give it a high pick given the value, and then I think that with the talent there, how can you not give it a pretty high grade?
Yeah. Comment from a Commanders fan. You guys stole Mike Green from us. Yeah, sorry, we might have stolen Starks and Mike Green from the Commanders. Then Emery Jones, I'll give it a C+.
I was gonna go that range.
Maybe C.
Yeah, I think I'm a little. I think I've come around to it a little more. I think I'm a C+. I love the idea that he's possibly going to be playing and competing at guard, but he can play tackle. I love that. There was going to be a pick like that, no matter what, for the Ravens. So to get it in the 3rd round with a guy valued around that range, I can't be that upset with it. I think that we're just not super high on him. So I think a C+ is perfect.
Yeah. So I guess overall for me, I'd probably give the Ravens a B+ so far.
Yeah.
Around that's probably average for me.
Yeah, I think that's about right for me too. Pretty close to that. Deshaun in the chat saying Starks B+, Green B+, Jones C+. Close to agreeing with us.
Yeah.
Zay was a pretty easy A there for Starks as well. So yeah, that felt that just felt like the perfect fit.
Some guys maybe the Ravens could target tomorrow. Probably will take a receiver at some point. We've talked about punt returner. Jalen Lane out of Tech is a punt returner. Torrey Horton, Colorado State, is a punt returner. LaJohntay Wester, Colorado, punt returner. Elijah Huzzy, corner from UNC, punt returner. Probably going to draft another offensive lineman somewhere. We talked about a lot of day 3 guys we like. Jalen Travis, Chase Lunt, Jack Nelson. If they maybe double down on guard, Connor Colby, Willie Lampkin, Luke Kandra, Clay Webb, some guys we talked about. Jackson Slater we mentioned. Definitely going to need to go interior D-line, hopefully in the 4th round tomorrow. We didn't talk about I did talk about Cam Jackson from Florida. I doubt Joshua Farmer will be there in the late 4th, but that could be an option. My guy Nick Martin already got drafted tonight, which was cool to see for him just because I loved him this whole entire process, so I've been rooting for him. Anyone I didn't name that you're thinking about tomorrow, Zach?
I don't think it's that all likely, but I think my guy that I talked about for the Everyone Else podcast, Alec Ayamanor from Stanford, wide receiver. I loved him. I thought that'd be an awesome fit. I think a guy that was mocked to the Ravens a few times, Chris Paul Jr., linebacker. I think a linebacker would also be around the range for the Ravens tomorrow. Cam here in the chat mentioning Tez Johnson. But overall, I totally agree. Chat's kind of talking just about a wide receiver period, but I think that a wide receiver is definitely in this range given whenever I always remember the question in the conference of them asking about a return and Harbaugh going, I'd like one. I'd like raising his hand. I won't. So I think that'll be addressed tomorrow for sure. And we get a little competition in the return room, which will be exciting.
Yeah. David Walker, edge rusher out of Central Arkansas, a guy I like a lot that I never talked about when we did our edge rush video. Basically as good as you possibly can be, but played in the FCS. If they want to double down on edge, we'll see if they take a kicker tomorrow or sign one as a UDFA.
I think the biggest concern for me now, you don't go a defensive, tackle interior presence in the first 3 rounds. And if you go back to the mocks, at least, D tackle became thin almost immediately after the 4th round. So maybe that's one of the priority picks early tomorrow. Even though there's some really enticing guys that early that we even still knew as names. So
yeah,
going to be an exciting day 3 for sure.
Yeah,
kicker even. That's a great comment, Sean. That could be a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out about that tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
I would say tomorrow they need to get a punt returner. In my opinion, draft a kicker and definitely a D lineman early, probably a corner at some point.
It seems like it's a little more deeper with corners. I think that's going to be a worry pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's even some 6th, 7th round corners that I liked a lot. I know Bilal Cohn out of Western Michigan was someone I liked. Zy Alexander, LSU.
Do you still think a running back is a possibility?
For sure, yeah. 8 picks tomorrow.
Yeah, it's 8 picks. I mean, shoot.
We talked about Jaden Blue out of Texas. I don't know how late Ollie Gordon, Donovan Edwards, those guys are going to go. Rocket Sanders, my guy to South Carolina.
Prime Trust. Boys EDC cooked today.
By the way, Prime Trust.
Did.
I haven't been able to catch you in one of our lives recently, but I realized that I think you were in the chat our very first live we ever did. So shout out to you, man.
Appreciate you, Prime.
We appreciate the support. But yeah.
I like Zay's comment. Rather go kicker undrafted. We forget JT was undrafted. Yeah. I mean, I think a kicker is definitely addressed. It's just whether we're willing to spend one of our 8 picks on one. I mean, why not? 8 picks. Why not pick one?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, might as well. Just draft every position tomorrow.
Is quarterback a possibility?
Maybe a 3rd string quarterback.
Yeah, dang near. I mean, all right. I think it's worth mentioning we're not going to be live after all of day 3 tomorrow. We're going to be live Sunday reacting to those picks and the entirety of the draft, a full reaction. Figured I'd mention that in case anyone was looking forward to that.
Yeah. Prime Trust, I'll always be in the lives, but I leave it in the background sometimes. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
One of our supporters from the beginning, same as Dawson Hess, who isn't in here right now, but you two were there from the start. But yeah, we'll probably go live sometime on Sunday to sort of recap the whole draft and give us some time to do some research on some day 3 guys that we may have not heard of that the Ravens ended up picking.
Yeah.
Even though we hope we did enough work that we're going to know most of them. But yeah, so we'll see you guys on Sunday. Appreciate the support through this draft season. Just one more episode to go. Started back in late March. But if you're watching that right now, please like the video. Helps us out a ton. All you guys commenting in the chat helps us out so much. Subscribe if you're new. 12 months of the year Ravens coverage.
Heck yeah.
And yeah, appreciate everyone. We will see you guys next time.
Peace.